Is LSU's number one class about to add another major piece to it? The Tigers are out of the gate fast and running out front in 2025, and right now it doesn't look like anyone can catch them. We got Shea Dixon on from the Bengal Tiger to talk a little LSU recruiting today with us. But first, Tiger fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Not because I was first to predict Bryce Underwood to LSU, but because we love covering the Tigers. So do me a favor and hit subscribe. All right, we've talked with Shea a lot about the offensive side of the ball when it comes to offseason recruiting. So before we get his latest prediction, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Okay, let's bring in Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger. And Shea, I got to ask right out of the gate, the number one DB in America, DJ Pickett, is LSU emerging as the team to beat for him?
You know, Chad Simmons, one of our national analysts, said that coming out of the visits, and DJ Pickett out of Florida had done a number of visits in a row, and he said the buzz around Pickett's camp was that LSU had emerged as a team out front, if not the team out front. So that was a big splash made immediately by Corey Raymond, right? You hire Corey Raymond, who had been here a decade. He goes to Florida for 2 years. He's back as the secondary coach at LSU now, and he's reoffered these guys in Florida. So a pre-existing relationship there helps. But look, he was also pre-existing relationship with a guy like Dorian Brew, who with Ohio State stacking up on corners, is he a guy out of Texas that suddenly LSU could be truly in the mix for? His father ran track at LSU, so he'd be an LSU legacy recruit. And we've seen it with not just those guys, Josh, but Anquan Fagan's a top 5 safety out of Alabama. We've seen it with Fahim Delani up on the East Coast. And then more regionally, a number of guys into Texas, Louisiana. Jabari Antoine commits as the number 3 corner in the country. It just feels like to me these defensive hires have sparked something in terms of secondary recruiting, and we're seeing maybe LSU get back to what we knew the standard to be.
Do you think that we're talking about LSU emerging as the leader for DJ Pickett if LSU does not add Corey Raymond this offseason?
No, not at this stage, at least, because he pointed to his relationship with Raymond as why he wanted to go check out LSU. And then he sees everything else, the support staff, the other coaches. Keelan Moses came and hangs out with him, an LSU commitment on defense. During that visit, he's sort of the cornerstone piece, the ringleader to this 2025 number 1 class. He's a local guy, goes to high school on campus here at LSU at U High. So, yes, I think that Raymond got the foot in the door there, but when you're able to put the entire package in front of him, I think that's what's really got LSU in a good spot.
All right. I want to elaborate a little bit more on defensive back recruiting before we get to your prediction. And Sam Spiegelman wrote an article on DB Kobe Sellers today, top 150 player for On3 out of Pearland, Texas. And is he up there on the board amongst some of the other DBs that you just mentioned? Is he a priority for Corey Raymond?
He is, and he's the guy who a number of schools are recruiting. And I think we're going to start to hear more about Kobe Sellers. He was unable to make it to their recruiting weekend in January, the Cajun Bash. Now we're in a dead period. When you look at the month of March, they'll start spring ball. They love bringing guys in for practices. I expect guys like him to end up visiting for practices. Then you see, okay, the DB board starts to have a little more clarity, and we kind of get a better feel for how the dominoes might fall. But I will mention with Naheem Alford committing to Ohio State, yes, they are still kicking the tires with a guy like Devin Sanchez, a Buckeyes commit out of Houston at North Shore. But these other guys in East Texas are going to start popping up. And as guys go off the board elsewhere, those guys move up even further on the wish list. So I do think the coming months will tell us more about where things really stand.
You mentioned Dorian Brew, and he is a legacy prospect out of Houston, Texas. But looking at the recruiting prediction machine, he's trending heavily to Ohio State at 97%. Do you agree with that, or is this just some early numbers and LSU is going to run this down?
Oh, he's had heavy interest in Ohio State. He's also an Ohio State legacy recruit. His mom was an excellent track and field participant, student athlete when she was at Ohio State. I think she might even be in their Track Hall of Fame. But you've got legacy on both sides there. Now, he's in Texas. He's closer to LSU.
True.
Raymond's all over him. He already made a surprise visit, right before the dead period hit. So the interest is obviously there. I'm not saying he's afraid of competition. I don't think any of these DBs who we rank up in the top 5 are scared of anybody else. But look at Ohio State's class right now, Josh. They are on a roll when it
They
comes to
are.
stacking up DBs. At some point, is LSU able to get a foot into the door, like I said, with a guy like him, because he has been considered trending to Ohio State, and for good reason. But with the hires made that LSU just did in January, and Ohio State starting to add other corners, it has to help LSU's case.
Yeah, and when it comes to DB recruiting, Ohio State is probably the hottest team on the trail right now, but I have a feeling if there's one team that could cool off Ohio State, it's probably going to be LSU. Speaking of heating up, let's talk about your recent recruiting prediction machine pick for running back James Simon from Calvary Baptist Academy. He goes 5'11", 198 into LSU. They're now trending at 94%. So, Shea, talk to the fans here. What does your prediction mean? Is this something that's going to happen soon, or you just think that LSU is in really good shape right now?
I just think LSU's in really good shape right now. I won't count out them being able to pull a rabbit out of the hat and get a commitment long before he said that anything would be trimmed down or focused on just a couple of teams, because we've seen them do it with other guys in Louisiana. But here's the reality of where things sit. From the start, look at what Frank Wilson did when he got here. He said, I'm only going after one running back after signing Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly out of Louisiana. He said, that's it, one guy. In this 2024 class, it was Caden Durham. Caden Durham was considered an OU lock at one point.
Yeah.
And again, his mother ran track at Oklahoma. He ends up signing with LSU. This cycle from the start, Frank Wilson has said, I'm going after two guys, this 1-2 punch of Harlem Berry and James Simon. Harlem Berry's already committed to LSU, number 1 running back in the country. Simon, another top 10 running back here, is here in Louisiana. And when you've got Frank Wilson on a guy, it's a Louisiana kid. Of the On3 industry's top 8 prospects in Louisiana, Josh, 7 are already committed to LSU for 2025, a year away. So he's the only one not. His teammate, Devin Harper, an offensive lineman who blocks for him, is committed to LSU here recently. So I just think things continue to trend in the right direction. And that's before I even bring in any family ties. His dad, John Simon, is a Baton Rouge native, went to Southern Lab, played at La Tech, but has coached for a while in Louisiana, most recently at Grambling. So there's a lot of intertwined kind of connections between the staff and his father, and then the staff recruiting his son. So I really like where they sit here to get that 1-2 punch of 2 top 10 running backs out of the state.
Yeah, well, his commitment might not be imminent, but I have a feeling that LSU is going to add another big piece to this number 1 class. Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger, you guys do an incredible job over there. Thank you for dropping by the Inside Scoop.
Thanks for having me on, Josh.
Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel, and also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.